Sorry, hang on one sec. You remember the multiverse theory? Yeah. It's the one about how there are alternate universes that coexist with ours on parallel dimensional planes. So, in each of these universes, the reality is different from our own. Sometimes only slightly, sometimes quite radically. This Bertram is from a universe where we never killed him. Okay, I think I got it. Sorry, not a genius. Now what do you want?
No game can prove just how far gaming has come like Family Guy Back to the Multiverse. As a third-person platforming shooter, this game would have been loved, adored, and welcomed with open arms on the PS2. But many of today's gamers are simply tired of this gameplay style. Though I am unsure why, as we see very little games of this kind these days, which in my book is a damn shame. I love these kind of games. They're fun and all about what gaming is for me, joy. I fire up this game and I know I am gonna have a good time. Then again, I am a massive Family Guy fan. I watch it daily, and it has gotten me through some pretty tough times. Which is why this game has such a special place in my heart. Let's settle one thing first. No, Family Guy Back to the Multiverse is not a great game based purely on its own gameplay merits. The gameplay is really simplistic. Even the last few levels, when the challenge really ramps up, well, things never become overly taxing. In fact, I would say that playing this game feels like a nice cool breeze in the summer. It's just so refreshing to play a game that's all about having fun. This is a game that was made with a very clear purpose in mind. Make a damn good Family Guy game that can provide all the epic fan service us die-hard fans crave. And that is where Family Guy Back to the Multiverse excels and blasts the door off of all other licensed games, except South Park's legendary The Stick of Truth. Every level in Back to the Multiverse was lovingly created to either reference an episode, gag, or tiniest background character that you never knew were there. While not all of the jokes land like they would on the show, they will leave a pretty big smile on your face regardless. Which is the whole point of these kind of games. Having fun.
Gobblers. Crap, Brian, run! We have to find someone to help us fix my remote! What's a knob gobbler? You'll understand when you're older.
There are three key gameplay factors that really elevated this experience from the lackluster cash-in that it could have been. For one, Back to the Multiverse has some of the absolute best level design of its generation. Each level is not only fun to play through, but enjoyable to experience and soak in. While the objectives can range from gut-bustingly funny to perhaps a bit mundane, it is how the characters in the world are built around these ideas that make it all work. As Stewie and Brian, you're traveling through multiple universes much like that classic episode. And this gave the developers a great sense of freedom to create some extremely funny and creative levels that are packed to the brim with the kind of references you would expect from a Family Guy game.
Hey, I smoked a little weed back there, and I'm kind of freaking out. Not gay, but would you mind holding my hand?
I knew when I first heard about this game that I would absolutely adore it, just because of the settings and characters. Although, in my eyes, this is not a bad thing. I love visiting the characters and worlds I have spent so much time admiring. But it was not until I started playing Back to the Multiverse that I discovered something wonderful had happened. While most licensed games, especially the ones that Activision was churning out at the time of this game's release, were poorly made cash grabs, it was clear that in most cases the developers were just hired to do a job, and they did, with little flair and little passion. However, Heavy Iron Studios, the developers of Back to the Multiverse, clearly were filled with a passion for the property and a drive to deliver something worthwhile to fans. From a gameplay perspective alone, they really succeeded. They hooked me with their excellent level design and all the great little in-jokes that I couldn't believe were included in the ways that they were. Some of the choices, such as the pirate level, are not only inspired, but downright masterful game design. That level was just so much fun to play through, I could simply not get enough of it. While most games featuring levels like this would just show you on the ship, they actually made the ship rock back and forth, and then once you finally got topside, the level not only gets more impressive, but even more hysterical. While the shooting and melee mechanics are nothing to go gaga over, they get the job done quite well, and that is thanks to some terrific weapon design. Stewie has all his sci-fi inspired gadgetry from the show, which was modeled with stunning attention to detail. But beyond how they look, they are a blast to use, pun most definitely intended. Watching Stewie run around blasting and beating people to death while spouting classic lines from the show is way more fun than it ever should have been. Brian you would expect to be a bit dull. After all, he does just get normal guns to use. But even those are taken from the show and are just as much fun to use as Stewie's weapons. If you're playing with yourself, you can actively switch between B-Ra and Stewie, and believe me, you will switch back and forth like you had split personality disorder, as both characters are tons of fun to play as. And I have a feeling it'll mostly come down to fan preference if you choose a favorite. While Stewie and Brian are the stars of the game's story mode, you will get to play Peter in an epic rendition of the legendary chicken fight. But other than that, you will only be able to play the other characters in the game's multiplayer and bonus modes, which are sadly only offline. You can plug and play locally with a friend, but I will admit that at the game's launch, I was pretty disappointed that I could not play online. I don't play many online competitive games, but this one I would have played the ever-living fuck out of. The extra modes represent many classic gameplay ideas such as Team Death and a Horde mode, among a plethora of others. What it really makes these modes so much fun is that each character plays unique to themselves. They have, for the most part, their own unique weapon set, and each character from the show recorded new lines for the games. I also really enjoyed how these modes fit into the game's universe as a whole. If I had one complaint leveled at the game's epic story mode, it would be that you can't play the other characters even after you finish the game. Which is a shame, since I thought so much of these extra characters, and there was so much thought and design effort put into each of these playable characters, that it just was a shame that you could not choose other members of the Family Guy cast to go through the game with Brian and Stewie. Though even that did not stop me from replaying this game far more times than I should admit. I love that they did include alternate outfits for all characters, and you can unlock a great deal of them for Brian and Stewie. While they are merely cosmetic, if you're a fan, you'll love seeing these outfits from some of the show's most memorable episodes. You'll unlock these by doing the side missions or purchasing them after you've completed a certain level or objective. You will earn currency for each enemy you kill and for conquering the game's many objectives. You can use this to upgrade both Brian and Stewie, and you can also buy extra gadgets to use, such as a wacky, waving, inflatable arm-flailing tube man, or a bottle of Epicact, for example. Yes, I love this game. I love it, and I am not afraid to admit it. This game, for me, is what games should be, not mass appeal, not massive budgets. Just developers who want to make something fun. This game could have been a dreadful mess like the first Family Guy game that was nothing but a collection of pretty dull minigames. This game was made with love and care for fans, by fans, and that is how it should be. If you don't like Family Guy, don't bother. You won't enjoy it. But it wasn't made for you. It was made for us, the fans. I would say, though, that even if you're just a casual Family Guy fan, if you enjoy good platforming adventure games and the spirit of Ratchet and Clank and so many others from a now forgotten era, if you're sick of all the same military and sci-fi games, this offers something different. On top of that, the game looks gorgeous. The visuals match the show, and the detail and designs are terrific. And that is all the game had to be. While I have not revisited many games I have reviewed in the past, This game gets far too bad a rap, and it's a real shame. Had this game sold well, we could have seen an even better follow-up. Though as it stands, the last joke of the game is even more funny and ironic, seeing how things have turned out. If you're not a fan, the levels simply won't mean what they do to a fan. A fan will want to explore every corner to see every hidden joke. And it's been so long since I just took the time to explore a level, to see everything that was created. This kind of game design is really lost today, and that is a tragedy. This is a game that was not meant to test your wits or set any kind of standard. No! This game was made just to be fun to play, and that is why I keep playing 4 years later. While some would have you believe that this game is just as ugly and boring as Meg, it's not. It's smoking hot like Lois.
You think you smell fish now? Why don't you come over here?